presenter.
Okay, good. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, you have great audio.
Okay, great. Okay, welcome to my presentation, guys. Can you see my screen okay? Oh,
Not yet.
Okay. Organizer must hide poll results to enable
Ooh,
screen
okay. That's my fault. 1 second. Let me hide this poll. I'm going to take the presenter back really quick.
Okay.
And then I'll switch it one more time. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay.
Show my screen. Okay.
Perfect.
Can you see me okay?
I can see you great.
Okay, good deal. All right. Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, Pragmatic Works, for allowing me to present for you guys today. You guys are super steadily with all the BI tools, so very excited to be presenting for you guys. We'll go ahead and get into it. I hope I'm not trying to cram too much information into this this presentation, so I'd love some feedback from you guys afterward. Here's the me spiel slide. Me and my family. I am, like I said, my name is Hope Foley, and I am the Microsoft team lead at Perpetual Technologies in Indianapolis, Indiana. I run the team, manage the team of DBAs, developers, and SharePoint administrators. So, and I'm also a DBA. I have been in IT for about 12 years, a DBA for 6, and I've been with PTI for 4. I'm also a consultant. PTI is a consulting company. So I get the privilege of working with a lot of technologies, a lot of environments, a lot of different things. So we have a variety of consulting. So that's it on me. So what I wanted to do today was give you an intro into Integration Services 2012. It's no longer, they've officially called it 2012 now, so no longer Denali. But so kind of give you an intro into that. Kind of my thinking of this presentation today was to give some, probably not a lot of people are, I don't know how many people have actually started using 2012 yet, but I know a lot of people probably, not as many people are using it yet, but I wanted to highlight some of the features of 2012 at the same time giving some general performance concepts to help your package design, whether you're in 2012 or in the previous versions. So give you an intro into it. I figured what better way to show you kind of the good ways to design your packages is to show you what not to do. So I'm going to give some props to one of my guys, Kyle Nyer, helped me design a monstrosity of a package to kind of go over and show you some of the things we can do to enhance it. So we're going to do a monstrosity of a package. I'm going to give you some information on how to set up baselines. The DBA in me won't let me get past that, so I'm going to show you some baselines to where you can make sure nothing else is going on within your environment, so you can make sure that you don't have to point the finger at the sysadmin. So, and I know how everybody loves to point the finger at the sysadmin, so give you some information to point your fingers with. Concepts to make the package perform better, kind of going through, we'll go through those. Along the same time, I'm going to show you a much better way to do the same functions of that monstrosity of a package. So kind of learn by doing. I'm a learn by doing kind of gal. So I can't squeeze all the different performance tweaks into this demonstration, so kind of wanted to also just throw out a few other things you can look at doing to improve your performance. Introduce the SSIS catalog, that is new to 2012, and then kind of also highlight some of the new features of SSIS 2012 as well. Resources, and then I will turn you loose. So, Integration Services 2012 is It's got a lot of lovely, nice, yummy things inside of it, but one thing they did not design was a magic button. There is no easy button, so you're still going to have to perform. You're still going to have to write your packages sensibly if you want to perform them well. So. And like I said before, I wanted to kind of learn by example demo, so I'm going to show you this monstrosity of an SSIS package. It is intentionally bad, so don't hit me up and say, why did you do this? It's intentionally the worst thing we could come up with, but that Kyle has actually seen in environments. So let's jump out and go into demos. So here is, let's get back to the control flow. Okay, here is SSIS 2012. It's kind of, everything's kind of got this blue hue to it, so it's got a new look and a blue feel. So here is the monstrosity of a package. You can see in the control flow portion, there's only one data flow task, so that could be a problem as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and explain the nature of what we're doing here. So what I'm doing in this package is just a flat file import into some tables, very common thing. What I have done here is I have my flat file, and it is, I'll go ahead and open this, it's pointing to this ragged connection, ragged connection in my connection manager. So a lot of people have probably had to work with mainframe files. Some of those olden things they call mainframes. They output files that are not always pretty or easy to handle in your uploads. So I'm calling this ragged because, and here is a little snippet of the load excuse me, of the load file that I'm going to use. I kind of have a header. It has a varying number of columns, which presents a problem itself that I'm going to highlight in this demo. So it has kind of a header record and a detail record, all in the same file. So we have to upload into our tables. So. So let's go ahead and step through it, and I'll explain kind of some of the things I'm doing here. So, like I said, it has header and detail records. So I'm doing a conditional split here, and I am splitting it out based on the number of commas that I find in my records. So if it's greater than 3, it is going to be a detail. If it's not, it's going to be a header record. So then we split off and handle those records separately. Here is a derived column transformation that I'm doing. Expressions. Oh, they're so fun. Here is some expressions that I am using to parse out the records, parse out the columns within those records in my file. It's a lot of loveliness of fine string and substring. So I'm parsing it out by that. Moving along in the header, I'm doing a lookup, and I'm telling it that if I find a match in my table, redirect based on that. So if there is no match, I'm going to do an insert. If there is a match, I am going to do an update. So, and I just have some connections here to do that. And going back up to our other split of our records out in the detail flow. This is where it kind of takes an ugly turn. When I need to have my header records handled and updated and inserted before I can go and do my detail. The detail could relate to those headers, and you could get data errors when you run your package because there's constraints on our tables. So what I do here is I'm taking, and I've already handled my header stuff, but I'm going to bring it back in, bring that together with my detail again, and I am going to do a sort. And you know, some of you guys are already just gasping in horror at what I'm doing here. This is how we've seen people do this, that they need things to happen in an order. A sort is what is called an asynchronous task. An asynchronous task. So it needs everybody to come to the party before it can move on. It needs all those records to come into it needs all those records before it can move forward. So this is an ugly way to get it to hold up. I need to have my header information and all of my detail information together before we can move forward. So then I'm going to do a conditional split again. I'm kind of going to, I've already handled my headers, so I'm kind of going to trash them to the side, and then I'm going to move forward with my detail. Then I go into my detail and I do some lookups. I'm going to do some lookups here to grab some information from tables, and then, you know, the same thing with our headers. If there's a match, do an update. If there's not, do an insert. So a lot of ugliness here, but we'll get to that. So okay, so we're at the point now. We have a package. We run it, and it's a beast. It takes forever. People are screaming at me that these loads can't take that long. You've got to fix it. So, excuse me. So I got to figure out how to fix this thing. And of course, I'm not going to look at myself first because I developed this package, and I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it at this point. So I am going to go out and I am going to something I do on the DBA side all the time is I set up baselines. This is performance. This is the performance counter. I set up a collection. I'm going to go in and specify. Maybe if you have like an environment where things are split, you have SSIS on one machine, SQL Server is on a separate machine, you're going to have to run these things on each machine and run the counters that make sense for that. So I'm going to grab some counter information. I'm going to, this is disk, some information I'm pulling for disk. I'm also pulling some processor. These are SQL Server specific counters. That's going to give me some information on as far as how well SQL Server is performing. The amount of processor. This process here is the process when I deploy my packages within SSIS. It's the process that's going to be running our package. So I'm taking a look at that. I'm taking a look at how the processor is for how much SQL Server is using the processor, how much memory is available, and then also this one I was not as familiar with until I started doing research was on this presentation was this is specific for SSIS. It is a buffers spooled counter that I can run while my packages are running. And if there's not enough physical memory on that box, it's the buffers for your package, your data, are going to spill over into disk. So if this counter ever goes above 0, that means you're spilling over into disk, and you should look at your memory on the machine. So, and I have up here a view of this counter that ran while I was doing some stuff. So you can see here, you can scroll through and it'll give you your max, your minimums, and your average over the course of where you run it. So So if you have performance issues with the hardware, this will help point that out to you. So you can have some ammunition. If your machine isn't performing well, you'll have ammunition to go to hit up your sysadmins. So we love doing that, but you got to have ammunition for your argument with him or her. But everything's running fine. My machine is running fine. That's when I got to start looking at myself, taking a hard look at my package, and maybe, just maybe, there's some things I can do to write this package a little bit better. So I will jump back into my package here. This here is my new package that is written much more efficiently, much better for performance. So you can see here the control flow is already a little bit more is used in the control flow to handle the processing of the data in the package. So let's go ahead and dig through these pieces. So same thing, I am doing a flat file source. This also is not only written better, but I'm going to highlight some things along the way that are specific to enhancements in 2012. So I have my flat file source, but this one is pointing to my new ragged. Within 2012, it is able to handle those ragged write or those flat files that have varying numbers of columns in them. It's able to handle that much better. I don't have any nulls in this package, but if I did have a varying number of columns and it didn't have information for that particular column, it would insert a null for that value. But anyway, so we're going to be able to handle this a lot better within our 2012 thinking of this package. So you can see that we specify that a little bit differently. Goes along the same flow. I need to split it out based on header and detail records. What I did here was, in my particular file, I have a value that is representative of whether it's a header or detail record. And but at the same time, I wanted to highlight something as well. There are some new. I almost went down this road and I didn't. So I'm showing. I guess I'm showing self-restraint in that I didn't use the shiny quarter just because it was new and shiny. If it didn't maybe make sense. So I could have used tokens. Token and token count are new expressions in 2012 that you can use. They make it a lot easier to parse out the columns in my file. You can see here, token, you give it the what you're going to evaluate, the delimiter expression. So I could have said, here's my information, put a comma there, and I could specify the occurrence of it. So basically, if I put in a number 1 here, it would give me that first value of the first column in my record. So I didn't use it, but I had to mention it because it could definitely help help people parse out those, and then also this token count gives you the number of delimiters that you specify. So I showed self-restraint, and I didn't put in the shiny quarter even though it was cool and shiny. So I specified I have a value in there for header and detail, and I used it. So moving forward with our newfangled package, I'm doing another derived column here. This one is putting in a value, a literal value for something that didn't necessarily care about for the demo. This lookup here is doing the same thing. For this lookup transform is doing the same thing. It's going out and figuring out if the records exist, if they have a match or a no match, and does a redirect on those. This cache mode is something I want to make sure to mention. The cache mode can help impact your performance. You can specify full cache, which means just bring all the kids to the party, put everything into memory. Partial cache, don't put everything in there, or no cache. If your information is so changing and variable, and you need to make sure that you're updating it, you may want to specify no cache, and it's going to go look up that information each time. So. Let's see, then we do a match if we have a match on our record, we go and do a header update. This is also something that was changed to benefit performance. What I'm doing here is I'm going to use a staging table for my updates. It is not a temporary table, it's an actual staging table that I've created to hold my data. If you can do your updates in a set-based operation, that will help your performance. Then this here also is something you can play with to tweak your performance. Specifying the rows per batch and the maximum insert commit size. This here is the default. I just wanted to leave that up so then you see the default, but you can play with these settings as well. So I am using this is pulling my data into a kind of a temporary table, not an actual temporary table as I'm holding up my fingers doing air quotes, but a staging table. Okay, and then if there is no match, it's going to do inserts. So moving on, we are going to, this here is the next the next task in our flow. So what I'm doing here is, I didn't necessarily have to do it this way, but I wanted to also highlight another feature that you can use within 2012. This here is going out to my table to pull in the information I need to check and see if I'm doing an update. So it's going out and pulling that information. It is putting it into a cache transform. So this cache transform is kind of an area, and also another area that you can use to kind of hold on to your data. It can be shared across your task, your packages. It pulls that information into memory for you. So I'm pulling our information for that into memory. Let's go back to the control flow. Oh, one thing I wanted to highlight too, I forgot to mention, on our split for the detail, I am using, I do a data conversion here, and then I am doing a raw file destination here. Raw file is a file that you can use as kind of a little holding area for your data. It is the native SSIS format, so it talks really well with SSIS. So it can perform really quickly. You know, it's still a file sitting on disk, so it's going to depend on the performance of your disk, but it's in the same format as all of your data flows, so it can talk with SSIS very quickly. So I put my header, my detail information into this area and say, hold on to this for a minute, and then we move on in our control flow. So we've already talked about that one. Then we're going to go and do our update of our header records with just a SQL statement, doing that set-based operation on our. It's going to look at our temporary table and our existing table. So, and then I truncate it as well, so then it's clean for the next time I come in and do this. So. Set base is going to be very, very, very quick. Moving on down the line, now that we've gotten all our header all of our header information taken care of, now we can move on to our detail. So here I take my raw file, all the stuff from my raw file. I do another lookup here I'm doing another lookup here to get the information for get some key information on my sales table. So now I have that, and I can move forward and figure out if there's a match or no match, and then go and handle those. So if there are no matches, it's going to do an insert. If there are matches and the records exist, then I am going to again update do an update on that. So let's move forward and we'll handle that. I also used a staging table here, so I can do this in a set-based operation just like on our headers. So that is our newly designed package. We got rid of that sort. The sort, if you can avoid sorts at all, please do. So the sort was what was really killing my performance on that package. So here, I will go ahead and run this just so you can see. You can see here that they have gotten rid of, and I don't know if I like this or not. I thought the green boxes had a little bit more yay factor to them when you got done. So you can see here it is going, and it has the little spinning dial, and then when it's complete, it will go and turn green. It has green check boxes. I don't think it necessarily has the wow factor of the whole green thing, but me and somebody were discussing it, and they said, well, it's more friendly to the colorblind. I get that, but maybe that's my preference, but what do I know? So, so you can see this is running. While this is running, I'm going to jump back into my slides. Here are some of the execution differences, just so you can see the impact of the improvement of the old mess and the hip new package, the amount of time saved, and you can see here that it's a significant improvement in the run times. I got out old Bessie, my old Lenovo ThinkPad, and did that. So it wasn't a very it was a laptop with 4 gig of memory. So Bessie did well for my demo testing though. So here are some other performance tweaks to consider. You can just like if you're doing T-SQL queries, if you don't need it, don't put it in there. SSIS isn't a magical pixie dust land that will handle things differently. If you don't need the information, don't pull it in. You know, if you can limit it with T-SQL in the front to when you're pulling your information in, do that. So if you don't need it, get it out of there. There are also some other resources that I can. You can design your packages for parallelism. I saw a really good video, and it was actually when you bring up I wanted to say bids, but they may be changing the name of that. In RC0, my bid studio shows up as SQL Server Data Tools. I don't know if they're changing the name of it, but it took me a while to get comfortable with bids. Business Intelligence Design Studio, so they're going to go and change it. I'm not sure if that'll be in the final release. This is RC0, but at least on mine it's showing up as SQL Server Data Tools. But anyways, when there are some good videos on designing for parallelism. You basically, the short and sweet gist of it is that you create subsets of your data, and you control that with kind of a control table, and you can spin up actual multiple executions of DT-exec to run those packages. I think Brian Knight actually I saw in one of his presentations that he did that as well. So you can also, it's not the same, but you can also, if it makes sense, you can just have your task run in parallel. You're going to have to consider your data. Parallel didn't work for us because we had to handle our header records before I detail. But if that isn't a concern for what you're doing, you can maybe set your task to run in parallel. Go grab everything, and it's also going to matter on your resources as well. Avoid row by row task. Slowly changing dimensions, unfortunately. I haven't done much testing with it, but word on the street, or i.e. Twitter, has said that it's not much of an improvement with the slowly changing dimensions task, unfortunately. It makes sense, just the nature of what it's trying to do. It would be a difficult one to tackle. Flat files, if you know your flat files are good coming in and will always be good, you can specify a fast parse. There's also the max row, max size settings here, buffer max rows and max settings. These temp storage paths. If you're spilling over, you don't have enough memory and you're spilling over into disk, you can specify the disk that you want that to write to go right to. So, if you're in that situation, that would be bad, but you could maybe make it better by using faster disk there. There was also a very interesting thing I found called the balanced data distributor. It also kind of along the same lines of running things in parallel. It was a task that was created by the SQL Cat team that will split your data out for you into as many paths as you want, and it will kind of go through and split that out for you. It's very cool. It's not, there isn't a version yet for 2012, but another word on the street is it will be. So watch for that. And if you're not using 2012 yet, it is friendly. So now we get into some of the it is kind of they've gotten away from SSIS, mouthful, SSIS being controlled from MSDB, given it its own special area and special database for 2012 called the SSIS catalog. Julie Smith, she had a good presentation, or a good series on it in SQL Chicken, SQL University. She referred to it, I thought it was a good reference to it, as ground control for your SSIS environment. So let's go out back into demo land and start taking a look at it. So here it is. This is the SSIS. When you install SQL Server, you will not have a catalog initially. So you have to, after you install SQL Server 2012 and Integration Services, you will have to create it for the first time. It's not a big deal to create it, and then here it will be. So I have my catalog here. Another new feature in 2012 is that they're getting very organizationally friendly. There are folders within your catalog to help you organize your packages better. And also along that same line, your projects. Some people would have these meticulous projects that were organized out the wazoo, but when you deployed it, it was a free-for-all. All the kids jumped in the pool at the same time. So They have made it a little bit easier to organize your packages after they're deployed. So you can see here we have our packages here, the same packages we were just looking at in SQL Server Data Tools. I had to write a note for that because I kept wanting to call it bids. So let's go ahead and make sure I run the right one. Okay, we're going to run hip new package. So I'm in Management Studio, so I'm doing all of this through Management Studio. So I right click on it and I'm going to execute it. So hopefully this doesn't take, okay, here we go. Excuse me. Here's the piece that comes up when you execute your package. Parameters. Parameters are something also in 2012 that are new. It's kind of the way I think of them are things you can design your packages to require variables be passed at runtime. So I could say, for example, I could specify my server that this is going to run on my database, and I can split it out like that to where every time it's ran, you have to pass. So also, once the package is deployed, you can see here it has headache and heartache to get there. So you can see the connection managers here, advanced properties. But okay, so let's go ahead and run our package. Okay, it says, oh, my operation ID is 21 has started. Would you like to view would you like to open the overview report? Well, yes, I would. So let's open up this report and see what the heck this is. And hopefully this doesn't take too long. And it's loading. I hate these parts. I feel like I need to sing and dance or something to get through those. So anyways, okay. Here is our overview report. So you can see already this is a lot more information than you would have had in previous versions. So, and this is nothing special. These are the inherent standard reports that that I'm using here. You can see I have an operation ID, my package, how long it's been running at that point, who ran it, and some information there. I'm going to click through into this performance piece. Come on, Bessie. Okay, there we go. This is showing my package is still running. You still have that, but you can see the past execution information here. This is saying it will show you the last 10 successful executions. So you can already see this would be very helpful if you're running your packages and perhaps they run every day, and you can quickly see, well, I had a spike in the time on this day. You can see that over time, and figure out maybe if you're running into someone else's package that's running at the same time on Mondays. So very helpful to help you isolate and figure out what is going on with your packages just straight out the box. So good job, SQL guys. So let's go back to the overview and let that refresh, and we'll see if my package is still running or if it is still running. Okay, I'm going to go and try to grab, this is 21. Okay, I'm probably going to run this and it'll finish before I get this going. So you can see that those reports are built off of something. Oh, okay, there we go. I left out. These reports were built off of when you create the catalog. There is also an SSIS DB database that is created with that. So you can see the tables. There's a lot of, I've heard them referred to as catalog views. They're not saying dynamic management views, they're saying catalog views. The terminology, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's all worked out yet. So, while this particular, there's a lot of information you can go and get from these catalog views that is saved for you to help you figure out where things are going wrong with your packages once they're deployed. A lot is super, this catalog is super cool. So anyways, here you can see a lot of the information. This specific, this is a function that is only, it will only return information at runtime, and you have to have that execution ID passed to it. So with this, it gives you, you can see it gives you a lot of information. You know, I don't have any buffers spooled, but a lot of good information at runtime to see what the heck is going on. Very cool. So I want to, I'm doing on time. Okay. Want to go through and show you some of the other ones that I thought were kind of interesting and cool. Catalog executions, you can see here this is my execution ID. It's giving some information on my, specifics on my package, the folder, the project name, some other stuff, who it was executed by, when it was created, the start time, the end time, who ran it, who would have stopped it, and where it was coming from. And there's also a little bit of performance information available as well in this one. So let's go, I'll show you. Hidden to the DBA on what was actually going on in these packages. So there's a lot. Me being a DBA, I think there's a lot better visibility into those packages. So this one here, executable statistics, start time, end time, execution durations. I'll go ahead and show this one, event messages. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling too fast. So there's some of the information, some of the messages, a lot of the same things you will see within the execution results there. So super good yumminess in all of these catalog views. Here's another one that lists also the phase. So I could see this being helpful, that, you know, if your acquire connections took longer, it may help point you in the right direction on what's going on there. This one was one that Jamie Thomas, or I'm sorry, not Thomas, Thompson had that give you, I thought it was nice that he kind of give you a case statement to see what these status IDs mean, and it also shows the duration of those. Another one from Jamie Thompson. I pass here the execution ID and also the execution path that I am interested in taking a look at. So break it down very granular. I'm not going to be able to say that. Granular, you know what I'm trying to say. Granularly, you get a granular picture of what is going on in those packages. There we go. The verbose, this is something I just want to, this kind of brings me to my next point about the catalog. There you can set A lot of people have created customized logging to get the information, some of this information out of SSIS and the packages. There are logging levels at the catalog level. So I'm going to right-click on the catalog. I'm going to go to Properties. This is where I would specify my logging level within the catalog. So you can see Basic is the default. That's what you get out the box. You can set it to none. There's also a performance level and a verbose. So you can specify how much information you want to see out of these packages. You will want to consider, verbose is like you are nitty-gritty, digging down deep into everything. It's going to pull out a lot of information for you, but you don't want that. You don't want it to be in verbose at all times. That's for nitty-gritty troubleshooting, because the more it has to write about what it's doing, the slower it's going to be. So you are going to take a hit on the more information that you log, but super good information. While I'm in here too, you can also do versioning on your packages. A lot of people have their deployment methods that they kind of had to do that on their own. It's inherent in 2012, so yay, claps for that. But anyways, back to this view. I set it into verbose, set it on a verbose logging level for an execution, or for just one execution. So, but you can see there's a lot of information here, and it will also, you can see it will capture the rows sent on our tasks. So, and then I didn't want to leave Matt Mason out, and this was one that I found that he had used, and it's also just broken out by subcomponent active time and the total time, so you can reference the total time. Where is that? Okay, total time for your package. So this is just a little tiny glimpse at some of the ones that I thought were interesting, but it gives you a view that there's a lot of information out there. So, and that is what a lot of information captured now for your packages when they're run after they're deployed. So, and that's what these reports are built off of. Jamie Thompson also has written some custom reports that extends the standard reports a little bit. It's available out there, and I believe I have that in my resources. So I can see a lot of people writing a lot of good reports to give them the information they need for out of their packages. So a lot of people, you can write a report. These people who are interested in the run times and bother you, the DBA, all day long, and how long did that take today, and when did it run, and what happened, and why was it so slow? You can, maybe you might want to, within PowerShell, write some reports that will email the people that care about their particular package. Super cool. A lot of possibilities there with that. So let me jump back to my slides. Okay. Let me just get into some of the other things. How am I doing on time? 2 minutes. Okay, good. Here is a little bit of the details on the logging levels that we discussed. Like I said, remember, you want to make sure that you set what's appropriate for what you're doing. But basic is the default. Data taps. Data taps are new in 2012 as well. It allows you, without getting in and making any changes to your package, it kind of lets you plug a tap into your package and say, give me the data out that you're passing in these tasks. So, for example, one of the good uses I see of this is, hopefully if you have your environments locked down, the developers can have their wild, wild west development area that has a, a smaller subset of the data that they're allowed, that's appropriate for them to see and use, and all that. So the developer is creating his package. It works in his dev environment against his little tiny dev data. When you deploy it into production, he can't see that data, but it's not working for him, and it doesn't work in production. So you can get a tap of the data without changing the package. It will output to a CSV file for you to use. You can peruse that, make sure it's appropriate for his eyes, or remove anything that's not appropriate, or have, pass it on to say, hey, can Joe in accounting see this information for his package to use, and then he can actually have the appropriate data to handle some of those data errors that you would see. So very cool stuff. This could get into security concerns, so make sure that you're reviewing what you're passing over to them to use, but it's kind of a cool way without getting in and making changes to your package to pull that data out for troubleshooting purposes. Okay, PowerShell. This doesn't actually tie into performance, although maybe it could. You can do some reports and help you figure out what's going on. PowerShell, I just didn't want to neglect it and leave it out, and I wanted to make sure to mention it. Like all things Microsoft, they are very heavy on PowerShell. I drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago on PowerShell, so had to mention it. There are assemblies for integration services, so pretty much anything you can dream up that you can do within SSIS, you can like script out your deployments or any of those kind of fun things. So help make your life even easier. So just to mention, big shout out to PowerShell. Wanted to also get into some of the new features that I just wanted to mention that I didn't have time to kind of show you, but parameters are very cool. I mentioned those. Bids Helper. A lot of people use Bids Helper now. If you aren't using it, take a look at it. It's not released yet for 2012, but I hear that's in the works. Also a word on the street kind of deal. So there are, I mentioned also the ability to store multiple versions. There is also undo and redo. I don't know how that one got left off, but you can undo and redo within the design of your packages now. Something that I've seen a lot of good presentations that kind of concentrated on this. CDC is change data capture. It was actually one of the PASS. If you happen to have the DVDs for PASS, there was a good presentation from Matt, and he had some guest speakers also do some demos on CDC change data capture. There are tasks within SSIS to help with the change data capture. It's also, you can also set up change data capture for Oracle, pull in your info, and then there's a splitter to where you can split out your updates and deletes and inserts into separate areas to review as appropriate. DQS is also something that seems to be big with the 2012 Integration Services release. It is data quality services. Data quality services, you can set up basically kind of it's a knowledge base and set up kind of your data rules. So you can set up your knowledge base and create these data rules. You can run your SSIS packages against these rules to kind of clean your data up in the process. That sounds, I can see a lot of good demos coming from that. So just some honorable mentions. Resources, I mentioned these already. but if you're doing any research on 2012, Matt Mason, I think it's Mason, he's on the SSIS development team. He has a lot of good information. There's the SSIS development team blog, and then he also has a personal one as well. A lot of good information. There's one that was really good for troubleshooting. Jamie Thompson, an MVP, also has a lot of good information. There is the link for that SSIS reporting pack that I mentioned, and also just a link to Julie Smith's. And I don't know if I get dinged if I don't mention Pragmatic Works. They have a lot of good information as well for SSIS out there. Brian Knight's always given a lot of good presentations.
Oh, thank you so much, Hope.
Yeah, so I love feedback on my presentation. I hope I didn't talk too fast and try and cram too much in, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. So
okay, we have a couple questions. If you have a
okay.
We have one from Michael. Any performance benefit to using stored procs in the OL database source? OLE, sorry.
Stored procs. I would say it probably depends. Sometimes it would depend. It depends on what you were trying to do. Some people try and cram too much business logic into their store procedures. I hate to say it, but I would think that would depend, and you would need to do some testing, depending upon what you were trying to actually accomplish and do. But and yeah, it's funny that I have to say it, but I would say it would depend.
Okay, great. Virgil would like to know, can you easily convert SQL 2000 DTS packages to SQL 2012 DTS packages?
Yes, you can.
Good
and
answer.
I just didn't have time to put that demonstration in there, but yes, there's a lot of they're actually wizards that they created to help you migrate your packages. So yes, there is now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I think we're out of time, but thank you so much, Hope. And
all right, cool.
There's
Thank
your
you, guys.
contact. All right, thank you.
Cool.
And
Thanks, guys.
as always, the session has been recorded and will be posted on our website under past webinars by the end of the week. So if you missed anything, please check back. And everyone, have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.